It's time for the Scoreboard with Greg Glasscock.
Welcome back to another week of Beyond the Blitz Scoreboard. I want to welcome in Mr. Greg Glasscock in with us again this week. How are you, Mr. Greg?
Good. How are y'all doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just kind of recovering from last week, gearing up for this week. Some big area games last week, region games. So looking to see what we got this week. I know this week's pretty much it's an off-region week. Let everybody kind of recalibrate, recoup, kind of get everybody back to health and then get ready for next week, going right back into region play and gearing up towards the end of the season. So we'll jump into some of these games from last week. So last week we had Asbury was visiting Collinsville last week. Asbury would lose 43-19 to Collinsville. So Asbury still looking for their first win this year. I know this week they go to DAR, so it'll be a good matchup there. DAR has one win on the year. Asbury doesn't have one yet, but it's still going to be a pretty good ball game from everything I'm seeing. Based off of some video and some stats and stuff like that, it should be a pretty good game. Still debating on which games I'm going to go watch. I know that Asbury DAR game is one of those that I'm considering going to watch and trying to get some highlights and stuff on them. So, moving on to the next game, we had Brindley Mountain against Fife. Brindley Mountain had to make the long journey out to Fife last week to face number 6 in 3A Fife. Fife would win that game 54-14. I know at the half it was 48-7, so Fife was pretty well cruising in that game. Never really looked back after the half. Another big game last week was the Geraldine Holly Pond game. Number 4 Geraldine would travel to Holly Pond. They would end up winning 45-6. So Geraldine's still rolling. Haven't really looked back. I know they got a couple more games coming up. I think they travel to Boaz this week. So it'll be a pretty good little game to see there as well, to kind of see how Boaz does with Geraldine coming in. DAR would travel to Westminster. Westminster would win that game 31-0. Again, bringing up DAR. DAR will host Asbury this week, so another good game there. Like I said, to be able to get out and watch. Outside of that, Pisgah would travel to Plainview. I know Pisgah's number 2 in 2A right now, but they would fall short to Plainview 61-30. Plainview was in the top 15 last week, but I saw where that after that win, that's bumped them into the top 10. They're number 10 in 4A now. The wild thing about that, the score was 61-30 as a final, but Greg, at halftime, it was only 36-24. It was a pretty close game, the first half.
I know
they did some good adjustments and just really pulled away that second half. So, and now we'll get into some of the games here closer to home. We'll cover this Albertville-Austin game. Albertville would travel to Austin last week. Still looking for their first win. We've seen them come pretty close. This one was again, it was the same way as a pretty close game. But I'm going to tell you something, Greg. In the first about 3 minutes of that ball game, if you paid to go to that game, you earned your money's worth. Albertville would start off. They would kick a squib kick that they would almost recover on Austin's 35-yard line. And then on the first play from scrimmage after that, Austin would hit a 58-yard screen pass to get the ball inside of Albertville's 10-yard line. Austin would then go on to score on that first drive there to go up 7-0. Austin would then turn around and come out and kick off to Albertville, and Albertville, Cooper Scott would return it for 88 yards for a TD all the way to the end zone. That would put Albertville down 7-6 after the PAT was blocked. Austin would then turn around and answer right back on the next drive on a 3rd and 5 on a QB sneak, and he would go 65 yards for a TD, and then they would fail the PAT, and that would make it 13-7. And so that was all right there within the first 2.5 minutes of the ball game. I mean, it was wild just how quick that all happened. Later on, Cooper Scott would end up intercepting a pass on Albertville's 20-yard line late in the first quarter. That would pretty much seal it there at the first quarter, make it 13-7. Austin would have the ball, would have a 20-yard TD run called back for holding in the second quarter, but they would end up kicking an 18-yard field goal to go up 16-6. They would later intercept a pass in the end zone with 4 minutes left to go in the half that Albertville threw on a fourth down play. Right there trying to score before the half. In the half, they would end up 16-6 at the half. Then later in the fourth quarter, Austin would score again on a 3-yard TD run to go up 23-6. And then Albertville again would score a little bit later on to make it a final of 23-12 later there in the fourth quarter. But one player I do want to kind of highlight there that had a big night, had a huge night for Albertville, with the 88-yard TD run on that kick return, and he had 2 interceptions as well, Greg, and that was Cooper Scott. Young man had a big game against Austin. I know they fell short, but still want to highlight him. He had a really big game against them, looked really good. So this week, Albertville travels to Grissom, still looking for their first win, so that should be a pretty good game. And looking to see, that's another one of those games that we're looking to possibly go out and visit as well. So moving on next to the Boaz-Douglas game. So Boaz would travel to Douglas. Boaz would score on the first drive of the game on a short pass from the 20-yard line to go up 7-0. They converted 2 fourth downs on that same series to keep that drive going. Then they would end up scoring again at the end of the first quarter to make it 13-0 after a missed PAT. Douglas would convert on a 4th and 13 with a 20-yard pass to keep their drive alive right after that and get inside the red zone. They would end up scoring in the second quarter on a rushing TD to make it 13-7. And I know we've mentioned this name many weeks. This week, his little streak of 50-plus yard TD runs in a game would get broke, but Presley Fant, though, would have he would catch a screen pass that he would turn into a 50-yard gain and basically flip the field for Boaz there late in the half. That would end up leading to them scoring on a 32-yard pass to make it 20-7 with 2 minutes left in the half. Boaz would turn around and get the ball right back after Douglas punted it with just under 2 minutes left in the half and score on their first play with a 64-yard TD pass. So Boaz would score on that same drive on a 32-yard pass to make it 20-7 with 2 minutes left in the half. Boaz would get the ball back after a Douglas punt with just under 2 minutes left and score on the first play with a 64-yard TD pass. Bennett was nearly sacked on that play. Douglas almost had him in the backfield, but he was able to scramble away and found a receiver that had snuck in behind the defenders there and scored that. They would end up having their 2-point PAT was no good, and that would make it 26-7 Boaz. Boaz would end up punching in another one right there before the end of the half to make it 32-7, and it pretty much was just Boaz from there. They never really looked back. The final on that one was Boaz 45, Douglas 14. And Greg, I know we kind of talked about that. That was kind of a big game there in the region for that third, fourth slot. And so it looks like Boaz now has the heads up there. Now they're gonna be looking to take on a-rab. And that's going to be kind of one of those pushers for who finishes that third, fourth slot, depending on if they can win out. So, jumping over to Scottsboro and Sardis, Scottsboro's defense again, man. I know we've talked about this. That's going to be the game coming up. We've said it and said it time again. Scottsboro Guntersville is going to be the game to watch. Scottsboro's number 9 in 5A right now. They're undefeated in the region. Their one loss was against Fort Payne, but they ended up beating Sardis 42-7. They were just a little bit too much early on for Sardis. So do want to say again, shout out to Sardis. They had a little time of remembrance for the young man that passed away there at Sardis. Definitely praying for that family and for that school. I know, talking to some of my friends and stuff that are on the staff there, they said that a lot of the kids are still struggling with some of that, but they were very pleased with how the kids were kind of responding to it, doing a lot of Bible studies and stuff like that, going back and looking at text messages that he would send out, like very godly young man. So definitely proud to hear that. And again, we're our thoughts and prayers are with them right now in that community. So it's definitely a tough loss. So. Moving into the next one, we're going to cover this Fairview game. I know we've talked about it, Greg. I'm not sure. We were trying to look into that. Is Fairview the cross in our region for Region 8?
Yeah, I was just, while you were talking, Chris, I was just looking it up because I heard several different things. And actually, the crossover for Region 8 this year is Region 7.
Okay.
And I don't know how they stand right now. I mean, naturally, Fairview's number 1, but you've got Ardmore, East Limestone, Fairview, Lawrence County, Priceville, Russellville, and West Point all in Region 7.
Okay. Yeah, I've got that. We'll cover that here towards the end, and we'll look at that. We'll look at the regions and see kind of how Region 7's playing out. I know Fairview they're looking tough, man. Fairview, just looking at this last week, they played Lawrence County. They hosted them, and they won 55-6. Just looking over what they've done so far this year, the biggest thing that stands out to me was Fairview. In this game last week against Lawrence County, they had 396 yards of rushing as a team for the night. That's phenomenal. That's outstanding. But it's all being led right now. Fairview looks like they're really being led by their senior running back, Jake Harper. Last week he had 15 carries for 180 yards and 4 TDs. Right now he's averaging about 183 yards a game and 3 TDs a game. So he's really just showing up and showing out in the games they've played so far through these games. That's through 5 games because they played week 0. But so far in the state as a running back, he ranks 6th overall in the state in total rushing yards. He's number 1 in the Class 5A through 5 games. So definitely a kid we're going to be keeping our eyes on, especially with that being the cross for our region, and kind of see how that kind of plays out. So, but they would end up, like I said, winning 55-6. So moving on, we'll go into the big game that was kind of the one that kind of played out for this, 2, 3, 4 slot here, and possibly even the 1, depending on who it is and how they can play against, Scottsboro coming up, because they both still have Scottsboro. The Guntersville a-rab game. Guntersville coming in number 5 in the state in 5A. And so, Greg, I'll let you kind of handle some of that. I'll jump in there with some stuff I saw, but I know you were there basically broadcasting for the radio there for it. So,
yeah, I was on top of the press box. Since it was nice weather, I had probably the best view in the house. It's beautiful looking over the field there at a-rab. And I tell you, with the news coming out I guess it was about midweek or later on in the week that Guntersville was losing running back Camp Green for the season, at least regular season, due to a leg injury. I know Coach Reese and his staff had to work hard to change the offense somewhat. And I could tell in the a-rab game, and not taking anything at all away from a-rab, but I could tell their Guntersville's offense is a work in progress after that injury. I've seen them enough this year where I could just tell the way they came out. a-rab kind of punched them in the mouth early in that first quarter. Nick Stevens, the quarterback, scored 3 yards out. That was all set up, though, by Luke Hudson, their star running back, had a 58-yard run to lead them on that drive, which he ended up getting re-injured later in the game, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for, because he just came back from a shoulder injury against a-rab in the first week, and I think maybe he re-injured the shoulder.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. And he went out there around the middle of the second quarter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It looked like the way he was kind of thrown to the ground, maybe he landed on that shoulder. So, and you could tell when he went out, a-rab's offense, to me, they ran 2 or 3 plays the rest of the game, and that was it, which might have been you don't ever want to see anybody get injured, but that was definitely somewhat of a break for Guntersville, because, of course, Guntersville Camp Green out. Their offense was struggling, but they finally managed to tie it at 7. Right before half, a big passing play, Street Smith to Weston Hammond for 46 yards, touchdown 7-7 at the half. And then late in the third quarter, Street Smith scored on a 1-yard quarterback sneak to make it 14-7. And then I'd say roughly with about 5 minutes or so to go, I don't have it in front of me, but a-rab settled for a 29-yard field goal to make it 14-10. And, I've never coached a day in my life, so I hate to always second-guess a coach. But I told my broadcast partner, I said, with the way a-rab's offense was and 5 minutes to go, and you still need a touchdown, I think I would have gone for it, even though I want to say it was like 4th and 9, 4th and 10. I would have gone for it because I didn't see a-rab getting the ball back, and they did.
Yeah.
And that was the final 14-10. Of course, there was a little controversy on a 4th down, too, in late that 4th quarter, too. But,
yeah,
I don't know, what do you think of the coaching staff kicking the field goal instead of going for it?
Yeah, it was 4th and 9 on the 12, and I honestly, I'll be honest with you, Greg, I was in the stands right there just below you. I was watching the game as well, and I honestly was shocked when we come out with a field goal. I thought honestly they was going to try to punch it in because, again, like you said, the offense had kind of sputtered, and to get within the 20-yard line and you're that close and you're less than 5 minutes, I'm not sure why you don't risk it and go for it right there, because then if you don't get it, you still have them pinned inside the 20. I'm not a coach. I'm not sure. I know a-rab has struggled some with their field goals as well. They haven't been very consistent on making, field goals outside of the PAT. But again, I'm not the coach. That's not my call. We've discussed that very first week, the Albertville a-rab game.
There was one in that one.
We're not coaches. We're just analyzing the game and what we see from our perspective. I'm a little shocked that a-rab didn't go for it there, especially with it being a big region game. But I mean, hindsight 2020, maybe they felt like they had a little more confidence in their defense getting a stop. I'm not sure.
Well, the coaching staff definitely knows their players better than me or you do, but I'm just thinking, go for it and don't get it. I don't remember if a-rab had 1 or 2 timeouts, but Guntersville would have it at roughly around their 10 to 12 yard line. Maybe you can cause a punt, turnover, whatever instead. Guntersville was able to basically kind of grind it out, which is the kind of game they did. Even though they passed it some, I really expected Guntersville to pass it a good bit more than they did. But I also have to give credit to what must be a much improved a-rab secondary. I thought they played pretty well in the game, or as well as I've seen anybody play Guntersville's receivers this year. Yeah,
that's the one thing I will say in every game that I've seen out of a-rab, their pass defense is very strong. They have a very strong linebacking core, very strong defensive back core. Their front 3 or 4 is kind of where they're a little, I don't want to say they're weak there, but that seems to be where their area that they could kind of more shore up a little bit on the run game. They don't seem to get enough penetration back in the backfield there. If you see a sack or you see a tackle for a loss, it's the linebackers. And so I know they've had several interceptions throughout the season so far too. So that was one thing. Like I said, I thought as well. I agree with you, Greg. I thought they did a very good job shutting down somewhat some of the receivers throughout the game because it could have got out of hand pretty quick. I know the young man that you said that's got the offer from Cincinnati. Is it
Dadrian Waller?
Dadrian. So Dadrian is, I'm going to be honest with you, he had about 4 or 5 big plays right there he went from 2-3 yards deep, that he caught behind the line of scrimmage on like a little screen play, that he 2 yards behind scrimmage and turned it into a 12 or 14 yard play.
Yeah, it's just his athleticism.
And he's so long, so tall, like they would go to hit him and he would be 2 yards from the first down marker and he would go 2 yards past the first down, Just very athletic kid. I'm not seeing him at all, but you can tell he has a lot of athleticism and has a very high ceiling. So definitely be interested to see kind of how he goes from here. I'm interested to see how he does against Scottsboro. Again, Scottsboro's defense and their secondary is very strong as well. So I'm very curious to see how he does against them. So
that's going to be the game in 2 weeks because, the reason why this a-rab Guntersville game was so big is the winner is really in the driver's seat to host because, you won't win them all. But say Guntersville goes to Scottsboro and loses, they're still in a real good spot then for the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Now they still have to play Boaz and Douglas, after Scottsboro, but it really put the winner of a-rab Guntersville in a bit of the driver's seat to host.
Yeah, because no matter what, if Guntersville play Scottsboro and they lose, they still have the coin toss. They still have the heads ahead over a-rab if a-rab wins out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still the 2 seed. And even if Scottsboro loses, you still gotta deal there where a-rab's got to knock Scottsboro off to jump back into that 2 seed. So that's gonna be a tough game. So I know they can't look past Boaz and Douglas either, because Boaz, again, had a big game against Douglas this last week. And I'm going to be honest with you, the freshman quarterback, Bo Bennett, looked really good. He had 2 really long, deep passes that we've not seen out of him all year. He had one to like 65 yards, and I think he had another that's like 35 or 45 yards. So 2 really big plays out of him. So
it'll be a tough stretch for Guntersville in 2 weeks. They go to Scottsboro, and then they host Boaz for their last home game of the year for senior night. So those 2 games on October 10th and 17th will decide really the region.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So let's while we're talking about that, let's look at the region so far this week. So region 8. So right now, currently, you've got Guntersville sitting at the top at 5-0. They're 3-0 in region. They're only averaging, giving up 11.5 points a game. They're scoring about 36 points a game. Scottsboro's in the 2 slot at 4-1, but they're also 3-0. They're averaging, giving up just a little under 10 points a game, but they're averaging scoring about 38 to 39 points a game. Then you have a-rab sitting at 3-2 and a 2-1 region record. Boaz is sitting in the 4 slot at 3-1. They have a 1-1 region record. Then you have Douglas at 2-2 and 0-2 in region. Brewer at 1-3 and 0-2 in region. And Sardis at 1-4 and 0-3 in the region. So right now, if it was to close out, you would have Guntersville, Scottsboro, a-rab, Boaz. But again, you still have the Guntersville-Scottsboro game coming up. You have a-rab, Boaz. You've got still several games that very well could flip-flop this whole region really quick. So, and looking at the region, the cross region that we would have in Region 7 would be, right now you got Fairview, which is number 4 in 5A right now. They're 5-0. Russellville's 3-2. They're sitting in a 2 seed. Priceville's 4-1. And they're at 4-1, and then West Point is 2-2, and East Limestone's 0-4. Ardmore and Lawrence County are bringing up the last 2 slots there in that region. So, again, that's a pretty tough region. To be honest with you, I wouldn't want to be that 4 seed going in to play that Region 7. If it's me, I'm wanting to fight tooth and nail to get to that 3 spot if I can get it. If I can't be the 1 or 2, because I don't know that I want to go in and face Fairview at Fairview, to be honest with you, Greg. I don't know about you.
But if the season ended today, either a-rab or Boaz would be going to Fairview. Who did you say was number 4 seed in Region 8?
That was...
With a-rab or Boaz? I guess
right now it's Boaz. So right now it would be Boaz going to Fairview. Then you would have a-rab at Russellville. Scottsboro would host Priceville, and Guntersville would host West Point. Now, but again, you got 2 to 3 more big games that very well could flip-flop that region in Region 8. So let's go and let's look at this week's games. I know, Greg, Guntersville's off this week. So any particular game you're going to be going to look at this week?
Well, I hadn't decided. Since my Seminoles are on TV tonight, I might have a rare Friday night at the house and just chill. If not, I will probably check out Boaz Geraldine.
Okay. All right.
I thought of going to Albertville Grissom because we play Grissom next week.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be at Joe Davis where Albertville's playing them at tonight, but I just don't know if I'm going to make that trek, so I'm probably going to stay closer tonight.
I got you. Yeah, so this week in Week 5, so we'll have Woodville's going to travel to Brindley Mountain. Plainview's going to travel to Sylvania. Again, we've mentioned this game. It's going to be another good game to go watch. Be Asbury at DAR. You've got Douglas is traveling to New Hope. You have Fairview is off this week. They're on a bye week. Guntersville's on a bye week. Number 7 and 3A, Fife is on a bye week. Then you have Plainview's traveling to, I already brought that one up. You got Scottsboro is traveling to Central High School of Clay County.
That'll be tough.
That'll be an interesting game right there. So this, I think, will really give us, outside of the Fort Payne game, I think this will really give us an idea of Scottsboro and how good they really are. This is going to be a good test for them. So I'm curious to get some coverage on that one and kind of see what we got next week on that one, Greg. So
yeah, that'll be good, because nothing against any of their opponents they've played so far, but when you look at who they've played, I mean, the best team they played, I would say by far, just going off memory of who they played, would be Fort Payne, and they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fort Payne has an offense for sure. Clay County is going to have an offense, so you're really going to test that Scottsboro defense and see what they've got. So
if Scottsboro can go to Clay and win, that will definitely open up a lot of eyes. If they happen to go over there and get blown out, then you wonder, well, how good are they actually?
Yeah.
So I think the jury's still out on how good several teams really are.
Yeah. Yeah, this week will really give us a good idea, because you're week 5. You've got several weeks in. You should have shook some of the dust off, but you don't have, some of the teams have some injuries, like Guntersville, a-rab. Some of these guys got some injuries. It's really going to see what you got this last half. So, like you said, Geraldine's going to travel to Boaz. Albertville's going to travel to Grissom. I'm contemplating going to that game. I'm curious to see it. I know we saw Grissom earlier playing a-rab. Albertville has some potential. The big thing with Albertville this last week against Austin is their offense sputtered. They could not get any offense going. If it's not for that kick return, they didn't really do a whole lot. Their offense just really, really struggled till late in the fourth quarter, and they were able to put one in. So,
well, a lot of people are saying this could be the game to get Albertville off the schneid. They beat Grissom. I don't know. I know you've seen them. I haven't seen Grissom yet. I'll see them next week. But, Albertville is improving, so who knows? They might go to Joe Davis and come back to Marshall County with their first win in, 33, 34 games, whatever it's up to now?
Yeah, something like that. I'm going to say this. Here's going to be the key thing. If Albertville can stop Grissom's running back, which I have seen, and dude, he's like a little pinball. He's all of maybe about 5'4", if he's that. Really quick, very, very shifty guy. He tends to be very hard to tackle because of his height, and a lot of the guys are struggling with trying to get down there and actually be able to tackle him because he's so strong. And they want to tackle him up around his shoulders, and he just spins right off of them and is gone. That's what I saw, when they played a-rab early on in the Jamboree game. If Albertville can stop him, they have a very good shot. I'll say that. That's what it's going to come down to. They have to stop him. If they let him run over them like Austin's running back did, it's going to be a long night for them. So that's going to be the key right there. So, and then you've got a-rab's going to travel to Madison Academy to face number 7 and 4A Madison Academy. As I mentioned, you never want to go down in that little pit and play. I'm going to be on.
Especially without Luke.
You're not about going back.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing on this is what does Albertville's coaching staff do? Do they rest Hudson a week? Because this is a non-region game. Do you rest him a week and let him sit? Because the next 2-3 weeks is going to be key for you. And as you saw as well as I have, and we've been saying for weeks, Greg, not saying he's all that offense, but he definitely helps it to be able to transition and be able to do some more things on the field.
I think it's a huge drop-off when he's not in the game.
Yes.
And that's an interesting point you made, being the non-region week, which I don't know what percentage he is now anyway, but I would tend to think even if he's close, I would probably hold him out.
Yeah.
Because you need him down that region stretch drive there these last, 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. So I would probably hold him out, but we'll see.
That's my thoughts as well. Like I said, because I'm not sure. I know a-rab has. I think they have a bye week coming up. I'm just not sure what week it is. I think it's week 8. And
I'll look and see.
That's what I was looking at right now. Yeah, it's week 8.
Okay.
Week 8. So that'll give them, it gives them another week to rest him. But I know before that, they host They go to Douglas and they host Scottsboro right before that.
Well, they're going to have them against Scottsboro.
They're going to have to, yeah.
Yeah.
But then week 9 is what's going to make or break, because then that's the Boaz game. So week 9 is going to be their games right there. Weeks 7, 8, 9 are going to be, their games are 7, 9. Sorry, 6, 7, 9. So.
And they'll have the bye right in between those two.
Yeah. Yeah. So next week they travel to Douglas. Week 6. Week 7 they host Scottsboro. Week 9 they go to Boaz. So that's going to be the player there for them. And then again, like you said, Guntersville hosts Scottsboro. What is that? Week 7 they host them. Actually,
Guntersville goes to Scottsboro after in 2 weeks. They're at Grissom next week.
Yeah. Then
they're at Scottsboro, and then they finish up with Boaz at home, and then at Douglas at Albertville.
Whew. Well, they got a nice little schedule there too to close out.
Yeah, and this year they only had 4 home games and 6 road games. We only have 1 home game left, so going to be a bit of the road warriors for the rest of the year, really.
Yep. Well, it'll be an interesting pan out. We'll see. So, Greg, if you're halfway through the season, what are you projecting? What are you saying is going to be the 1 through 4 slots for Region 8? Who are you saying in there? If you're throwing a projection out there.
Well, it's going to be very hard to beat Scottsboro. I don't want to they'll win, but especially at their place, it's always tough to play at Trammell Stadium. I would definitely give them the edge. But I would say in some order, Scottsboro Guntersville is going to be 1. I'll say the winner of that game is 1, the loser is 2. And then 3 and 4, I really strongly believe you've got the 4 teams right now. It's just a matter of what order. I was thinking maybe at the very beginning of the season a Douglas or a Sardis or somebody could sneak in there. But I think we've got the 4 teams. I think it's just really what order they'll be in. Mm-hmm. And depending on Luke Hudson, if Hudson's back or not, if he's not back or not 100%, I would probably say Boaz 3, a-rab 4. Otherwise, if they have him, I think a-rab could beat Boaz. I think it would be a very close game. Of course, I have not seen Boaz in person. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping to at least maybe catch some of the game against Geraldine tonight. I think that'll be a tough test with Geraldine highly ranked in 3A.
Yes.
But I really think we have the 4 teams now. It's just a matter of what order they want to be in. Because, do you see somebody outside the top 4 sneaking in? I don't think so. I'm like you, Greg. I think your 1-2 is going to be the Guntersville Scottsboro win. I don't see anything that's proven any differently that could fall any way other than that. Barring, like we've said, you have 5 weeks left to go in injury. And with Camp going down, that was not something we thought would happen, but that was a huge hit for Guntersville because not only is he their running back, he's their middle linebacker as well, right? Yes, and a kick returner.
Yeah, so that's
efficient.
Yeah, that's a huge spot to fill there, So barring no injuries, if we finish like we do and we play out, Scottsboro Guntersville is going to be 1-2. It's the winner of that game is going to be the one. Like you said, I'm in agreement with you. I think a-rab finishing 3 through 5 is all going to depend on if Hudson comes back or not. I believe they have the defense to get them in the top 4. I think that's the only thing that keeps them in the top 4 in the region is their defensive play. But their offensive play is going to have to, if they want that 3 slot, it's going to have to come along. They're going to have to have a game like they did against Brewer, against Douglas and Boaz to end up winning out right here.
The one thing about a-rab's offense, even without Hudson, I saw him week 1 against Albertville, and of course last week. I was really impressed in the young quarterback Stevens on his footwork, and he was a weapon running, not so much throwing. They never went deep. But he was a bit of a weapon with his legs, and I don't remember seeing that out of him against Albertville. So I think they've really worked with him, and he's gotten better as the season's gone on.
Yeah, he read that option really well last week. I was shocked how really well he's come along and progressed in the last 4 weeks with that option.
Yeah.
That's why I say if the offense can come along, if we can get through this week at Madison Academy, you go into that game against Douglas, at Douglas, and they can come out with a win there. And if Hudson can be in the game, that's going to be big for a-rab, whether they finish 3 or 4. They possibly could even slide 5. Those are some big games coming up for them, though, with Boaz and Douglas. But the crazy thing about all this is looking at for that 3, 4, 5 slot right there. If you leave it down to where it comes down to a-rab, Boaz, Douglas, they're basically relying on a-rab has a 10th grade quarterback, Douglas has a 10th grade quarterback, Boaz has a 9th grade quarterback. So you're looking at those 3 underclassmen to get you in to the playoffs right there. 2 out of 3 slots. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next 5-6 weeks plays out here, especially after week 5 here, this non-region, seeing how everybody does. But these last 5 weeks of region play is going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. So with that, we want to thank you for tuning in again for another week of the Beyond the Blitz Scoreboard. Again, thanks, Greg, for tuning in, helping out, and giving us some insight from that Guntersville a-rab game. Looking forward to, hopefully, if you're able to go to that Geraldine Boaz game, giving us some of the insight that you saw from that game and what you see out of Boaz as well. And outside of that, we will see you next week for Week 5's recap of the high school football season here in Alabama. Thanks.